one last thing.
Okay.
Unless there's other things. Responsibility.
Okay.
That's something that really intrigues me, and I think it came up in one of our, I think one of the ICU meetups with eye gazing, where someone said, they really felt the unividuality, but something that came up for them was this sense of responsibility, that now that I experience myself as a unividual with everyone, I now have this immense sense of responsibility that I have to step into, and I have to choose that. And there is some kind of relinquishment of responsibility that I think some of the those more like modern non-dual teachings have built into them, is sort of like you're no longer responsible.
Not some.
I know, I think I try to be a little bit too soft, spiritually correct, if you will.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's one of the attractions, isn't it?
That's what I wanted to talk about.
Ramesh said it to me clearly. It's like there's no good and bad.
Right.
There's no one to blame. There's no one to praise.
Yeah.
There's no one. So you're not to blame. You're not to praise. It's like, so you don't get all the good bits. You don't get the bad bits. And with this, is the opposite. You see, when I've looked at my experience and gone, well, how would I describe a unividual morality?
Yeah.
It's, there's universal benevolence, because you come into that relationship of oneness and love. So it's a wishing well to everything, which is a very general thing, but then it applies in my life. So that's very specific. So it's universal benevolence and individual responsibility. Like I'm responsible for my individual relationships with the one.
Right.
Which means my children, my friends, my wife, my parents, my job, my talents, and so that I think is responsibility. You know, and interesting though, I'm just thinking this as we're talking. The word. We've been talking about relationship as opposed to sort of a bland oneness, the idea of everything being relationship. Well, responsibility is about responding. That's what the word comes from.
Right.
It's like you have to respond to the universe as you experience it.
Yeah.
And you can't control the universe, but you can have some about how you respond, and that's responsibility.
And there's something empowering about that.
Oh, massive.
But there also, I feel like you could see it as a burden, right? That, okay, now I'm responsible. What I do reflects on everyone else, which at the deepest level is true.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it can give you purpose and meaning to say, okay, if I make these changes, then I'm also going to be able to affect positive change in all these other ways. So I've been trying to harness that as empowerment. So when I feel like, I want to give up, or I feel like I don't have a reason to, keep going for this or that, to say I can play a role in something greater than myself. So it gives the individual so much more power by recognizing that it's embedded sort of in the whole, that it is the whole, it's the individual, but there's something really beautiful and something very motivating about it when I can harness that. But that's what I love so much about it. But to say that you do have to, in order to reclaim your individuality, you're going to have to step into responsibility, I think, is something that I want people to know.
The only bit I want to add to what you've just said, because it's beautifully said, I agree with all of it, it's beautiful, empowerment, I love that. I mean, I'm so much like, you've just been at the retreat, and the thing I want to do, when I started doing the retreats, my aim was, how can I help people experience this oneness that I touch? Now, it's not that at all. Now it's like, how can I help them experience the oneness so they go home as empowered individuals?
Exactly. It's so
it's
different.
all about, like, get this so you can come out as you, feeling like... So I agree with you completely. The one bit I want to say, in the spirit of that kind of the conversation is, you said, but it can be a burden, and people definitely feel that. And now, maybe it's getting older, I want to say, it's a fucking burden. You're going to pick it up or not?
Exactly.
That's your burden. Your burden is your life.
Yeah.
And all the people you love, they're your burden. You've got to carry them sometimes, but they will carry you sometimes. Are you up for it? Are you human enough to do this? Or, can you find the courage necessary in such a fearful world? Can you, and maybe you can't sometimes, and that's understandable, and I can't. And sometimes we need to just sit down and hold each other's hand and go, it's tough, isn't it? But ultimately, pick up the burden, because that's the meaning.
Yeah.
And that's what will make your life worthwhile.
Right.
Is your willingness to go, this is heavy, but I'm going to carry this because this is my life.
Yeah.
And I think there's something beautiful.
There is. It's
and
very
noble and
It's very tragic, though, I think, we agree, to see how the message actually from my earlier days was drop the burden of being somebody.
Yeah.
Drop the burden of your life,
exactly.
right? The burden of the quotation marks.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas now feels like, and this is perhaps a way of capturing it, is I feel more and more forthright about, no, go for it. Not even just accept it.
Yeah.
Actually seek it. That's how I feel. Take it on.
Exactly.
It's like,
and learn from it and grow from it.
If you're not able to carry the burden, don't do it, and carry a lesser burden. But as you get stronger, and I feel that, I feel like oh, Tim, you've had a really lucky life. You should be carrying more. Yeah. And if I can, I will, because that's how we move it. But also to see that everyone's doing that.
Right.
And that
we're doing
quote
it
that
together.
I think I mentioned from Philo Judaeus in Israel a long time ago, going, be kind to everyone, because everyone's carrying a heavy burden.
Exactly.
And the burden they're carrying is themselves in relationship with their universe.
Yeah.
That's the burden.
And that's the difference, yeah. So carry the burden, don't drop the burden.
Yeah, I think so. If you can, and put it down when you need to,
and
have a little rest, and then have another go.
Yeah, I think we can carry it much better with a narrative like uniduality.
Yeah, and be willing to let people help you with it.
Exactly.
And to help each other with it.
To help each other.
And to realise that some of it's stuff we have to carry together, because we are living communities, and we're not.
We can only carry them together.
Atoms. And the same with the transformation. Some of the transformation we have to do together. And the great thing that I think, I don't know, my vision is it will happen. Or my optimism is it will happen. In fact, I think it's happening. How quickly, I don't know. But that I think more and more and more people, even in little ways, have picking up on what I call this benevolence, this universal benevolence. I